Mercury retrograde in Capricorn at 8 degrees in the first decan. So just initiating where to use and how to be used. Yeah, this is the Mercury retrograde video in Capricorn. It's going to be going in retrograde at 8 degrees of Capricorn back to 22 degrees, the mature third decan degrees of Sagittarius. And this, I'm just going to be breaking down the energies of the retrograde, because we already know how Mercury is thinking, communicating, analyzing, and relating our ideas and concepts. And Capricorn is about using or being used and laying down the groundwork, letting the actions speak for themselves. You know what I'm saying? Letting the actions speak for itself. And I think Mercury rules, Virgo too. So, you know what I'm saying? It's cool with Virgo relating the ideas and things, but here you want to take action, but you want to like try to communicate it first. Try to come up with a plan to initiate. Come up with a plan, a blueprint to look at with like yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can get lost in the travels of communicating and the sons and daughters of men with all these excess thoughts, or you could be thinking so much that by the time you catch up to a million thoughts, you are already on autopilot with Capricorn energy. You're already on autopilot. You're in some situation where someone is presenting themselves to you and you see opportunity to use them, or where you can talk a good game on what you're building, build them up to a position that you need them to be, so they can use you or hire you for the main job, or the boss or the general of that duty and job obligation, right? And when it goes in the retrograde, we're going to be looking back on how you were thinking when you were going about initiating, how you were thinking when you were privy to being able to get over on somebody, but you weren't like you were on autopilot. Like I said, you were taking action, but now you're looking back on the thoughts and ideas that you were encountering, that you were receiving from others. It's still Mercury, so communication, your surroundings, the people that started showing up, or the people that started dropping off when you were initiating this blueprint, when you were connecting with, saying, using the water element, connecting, but not like a deep connection, like it's contractual. You were connecting off of a status quo, but it's still a connection, it's still a link, it's still a hardening of a fluid energy that allowed you to flow and mix together with similar traits or ideas or principles or blueprints, or like you could be two students, Capricorn's energy, from the same teacher, but the teacher has departments, Mercury energy, right, that you could go off and travel along with. And so when it goes in retrograde, you're going to be looking back on the people, that places and things that were there, and those that were falling off. And if you were if you were working with that transition from relating your philosophy and your moral system and your higher education and what you experienced to put you in a status to either use or be used as a boss, or things to that nature, based off your theology, because you see how the church and separated church from state, and it still all has a play on the business, on controlling the spiritual system or the mentality, the mind of the people, to get the tithes and donations to building and expanding upon land and language. You gauge the land and use the vibration, creating your own word, and using the people, utilizing your theology, making it hard based upon what you experienced and went through, and the wisdom that you extracted out of that situation, right? You might have been using the square energy and have an embarrassment with Virgo here, where you're embarrassed about trying to analyze too much and get too deep into the details, where like you can go all the way in with your experience and be a hunter-gatherer, but still pull yourself out of that and then claim that your business had nothing to do with your theology. Like, that had nothing to do, it's just coincidental. That those conversations were merely for picking the brain when really you was checking out someone's moral system and or seeing how far you could go with them as far as using them or being used. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to give it that vampiric energy, but it's Capricorn. It's in the dark. It's in the death. And in death, you are making things hard to prepare. You know what I'm saying? To create a angle or a direction or a starting point, not just receiving what death has to offer. No, you're in the underworld, the foundation, the grounding, the connection within like the water, you know what I'm saying, where you can't see, but you can feel with the physical sense, with the yang, you know what I'm saying, with the yang of the yang or the yin of the yang, with vice versa. I think it's the yin of the yang because it's earth. But yeah, you'll be looking back on where you use theology, where you taking accountability, and you go back to that third decant of what you already experienced, whether you retired towards the end of the theological season where you were picking your sides and things were winding down and you're getting ready to take down some of your spiritual systems, this time where you're gonna see when people start, you're gonna see people self-reflecting. You're gonna see how their content might slow up, or like they'll do certain things slightly more correlated to working, being more amongst the people when it goes retrograde, based off of seeing who was with and who wasn't. And when you're communicating, as far as building, it puts you in that energy signature of seeking. Like if you're just working in silence and you're keeping your thoughts to yourself, like people can get that aura from you. Like people can get that scorpionic, serious, dry, the dry humor, you know what I'm saying? Like, because Capricorn, you ain't gonna really, you know what I'm saying, let you see them sweat, and they don't really care if they're in front of the scenes or behind the scenes. They're initiating a new way of building. You know what I'm saying? It's a new way of seeing tradition, making tradition more relevant. I just watched the new Hunger Games prequel, you know what I'm saying, where they were coming up with the concept and understanding the Hunger Games. And hell, that's the allegory to the Mercury retrograde, because this whole time he was thinking about the past and who he was leaving behind while he was still going forward. Like he was going forward to go to the past to find himself in this love interest or some shit like that, you know what I'm saying? So it's like one of those Inception kind of like, you know what I'm saying, like to move forward you have to go back, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, so that's what we're looking forward to, looking back on the Mercury retrograde when it conjoins trining Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. It's trining, so we're gonna have that gift to see the depositor of the energy signature that we are going back into, and Uranus is the depositor of Capricornus, you know what I'm saying, the fixed energy of Aquarius is going to be upholding it. So you're going to have the gift of seeing where you're stable and unstable based upon your previous experiences with what you already have, with what you're already secure with, or with what you're already insecure with. Because if you're insecure of something, Taurus is the type of energy, if it's insecure, then it will like start being like in its depression kind of bag, and it's that scorpionic energy putting in its opposition where it's uncomfortable. It's gonna find comfort in the things that it already has, and if it doesn't have anything look like that, that's where it's gonna be depressed. But it's got that originality and the revulsion anyway, so it knew what it was costing when it was when you were being sacrificial through another lens or through another house with something that was dealing with security, perhaps Cancer, or like Cancer the fourth house, or what's another homie one, or in conjunction Venus, you know what I'm saying, where it's connecting to connect the thoughts and relations, where it isn't like sitting still and over analyzing, but it's gonna be over talking though. It's sure it's gonna be overthinking. It's gonna be put in a predicament where it might just jump in the middle of something, just to jump in the middle, but the Taurus is gonna be reflecting might be depressed. So, but the Capricorn energy is gonna be like, get up off your ass. You know what I'm saying? When it goes forward, and when it goes retrograde. You know what I'm saying? It could be like, get up off your ass, because we experienced this in our theology, and you're talking about some shit that you have or that you're experiencing. So you're gonna use that gift to be more assertive, as far as like taking these things on, especially when it goes in the back. Then you're gonna have like that grounding energy. As far as reverse, you know what I'm saying? Like just taking these steps back, retracing your steps, retracing the path less taken, where it's still on grounded land, but where certain trees might grow on certain land might be fertile, more fertile than others, and you can go down that path, you know what I'm saying, and not be indecisive like Libra, the South Node, Venus being at home type energy. So that's where that gift's gonna come in, and it's gonna be a grand, like that Earth trine with Lilith in Virgo, where that embarrassing moment is going to be a key indicator for where you were, where you first initiated, you know what I'm saying, where you first had that square, where you're supposed to be learning from Sagittarius, where you're externalizing your theology, where you need to analyze what is beneath the surface that makes everything tick. What's the details that trigger the mechanism, and understand the mechanism, and putting a spirit or a conscious into something that you know, like AI. So you look at that golem or that factor or mechanism as a representation as yourself that you're seeing, right? And it's like you're falling back on everything that you were thinking and communicating with the people, places, and things, and you think you're embarrassed because you were over analyzing that relationship. That's why that person left. Or this is the type of overworrying energy that you attracted, but really it's the energy to assist you. You know what I'm saying? Are you going to accept the help or not? Are you going to be used as far as not just like God, but as far as like for your resources? Are you going to make your resources readily available and have more profit and valuable? Or are you just going to be stuck in the past being depressed with something that you didn't see move, or that you didn't see have the upgraded model of, with Taurus there in that energy signature right there, you know what I'm saying? And Pluto direct going in, you know what I'm saying, Capricorn there too, conjuncting that. So talking and thinking and communicating about that transformation, not death, taking power control over that thing after it's been retrograde. So that ain't the first time that you've been retrograde in that Capricorn energy. So you're gonna know what it feels like as far as transforming. Now you're just adding a little more thoughts. You're just moving a little more fast and a little more speedy. You know what I'm saying? But thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time watching, subscribe, share if you want to, you know what I'm saying, be a representation of that spiritual space and the astrological space that you were in to, you know what I'm saying, attract, you know what I'm saying, one of you back to present you a video of what you already, you know what I'm saying, are experiencing and seeing, but based off of the collective, you know what I'm saying, norm. So thank you. Signing off, SO.